Hi everyone, this is Dr. Vamshi. Today we will discuss about the basics and the overview of the entire Sociology eCLP program. First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for the overwhelming response. We have had already over 70 registrations even before the program started. So first of all, thank you for that. Right, for all of the people who are watching on YouTube, if you click this link by accident or choice, right, I promise to I'll make your time here worthwhile. Right, basically I have divided this presentation into three formats. The first thing is why you should take sociology, and what are the roadmap, how to go about the optional, and what are the problems that you face, the roadblocks. Again, why this program has been launched, right? Why a unique e-classroom learning program has been launched. What are its features? We'll have an overview. Most of you might be already aware, right? And finally, for the people who are doing self-preparation and all, we'll just try to do a simple current affair topic using sociological concepts. Right, first thing is about sociology, right? We'll break some of the misconceptions that are there, right? It's a very popular option, all of you know that. So we will be doing why people take sociology and what exactly do they do with that, right? All of you might be knowing him, right? One of the most popular stars on Indian screen, Shah Rukh Khan. So sociology is Shah Rukh Khan of optionals. Why? First thing is, it's interesting, right? You have religion, you have politics, everything that is under the sun is studied under sociology, and put it in a very, very good perspective, right? Of course, being the optional with the highest overlap with GS, right? Once you prepare for sociology, you need not prepare for essay. Similarly, ethics and GS1 General Indian Society. So when you are studying sociology optional for 500 marks, you are not actually studying for 500 marks, you are actually studying for 850 marks. The next thing is, if you look at the portion, most of the chapters look similar in paper 1 and paper 2, and you have a lot of books coming in, guides coming in, so people take out, right? People think that it's a very easy portion and they take the portion, right? Compared to subjects like PSIR and other technical subjects, sociology appears at first glance very easy, right? And most of the people think that they know most of the things and they start doing self-study, right? And if you look at the internet, you have lots of toppers notes, lot of handwritten notes, lot of etc notes. So material is not a problem at all in sociology. So all these make sociology one of the big, right, one of the highest subscribed optionals in UPSC, right? Every year around 2,000 to 3,000 people write mains taking sociology, right? But as always, right, no optional is easy or hard in UPSC. UPSC gives equal importance. Sorry to break all of your misconceived notions, but UPSC gives importance to all the optionals equally, unless you are working hard, right? Unless you are working hard and you are not writing what UPSC wants on the paper, you will definitely not get it, right? Most of the people who come to me, call me and say that, sir, we are doing self-study and we require your guidance. The ideal of self-study is not to require guidance. So whether or not to go, right, for self-study is what we are looking at, right? The first thing is, right, what is the concept and the guidance that you require? Right, lot of people falter on the conceptual clarity. They do not know the phenomena, what is happening or the concept that is happening, and instead try to wriggle their way around. This is where guidance is utmost necessary for your conceptual clarity. The next thing is, most of the people do not know that there needs to be a structured preparation. If you look at the portion, right, most of you have the portion before you, lot of topics are interlinked, but most of the aspirants or the students who are taking up sociology make the mistake of not combining paper 1 and paper 2. Right? This is one of the biggest issues that you have. Next, there is absolutely no regular study. The option is always kept at the side because of the portion of GS. Then there is no regular revision, and of course, answer writing, the less said the better. Right? One of the things that most of the people who do self-study is they do not read between the lines of the portion. Right? Read between the lines of the portion. There is lot of hidden portion in sociology. Right? Only when your answer sheet or the question paper comes in UPSC, people will be telling, "Ye to maine padha hi nahi. I have not read this." And of course, I have already told they fail to interlink the concepts of paper 1 and paper 2. Right? Most of the people even join groups, selves, friends, chat forums, and everyone, no one answers the structure because the person who is evaluating also doesn't know what he is evaluating. He says, "You have written well, you have forgot to mention this thinker," not looking at the bigger picture whether the central thought of the question has been answered or not. And most of the people end up in optional scoring somewhere between 200 and 220. At first glance, this looks like a very decent score. But please remember, this is a rejection exam. This is a race to the top. When the person in the list is scoring 320 plus, right? 100 marks you cannot cover in GS or in essay, and least of all in the interview. So optional is your forte. Once you do your optional well, right, it is the only one that will take you to the interview. That is where, so I'll give you an example of this. Most of you know this is the portion that I have taken as a screenshot from the syllabus. Right, the first 3 chapters. Even today morning also, I had a person coming and saying, "Sir, I have done everything else except the first 3 chapters. I am not able to understand." Right? The main thing is, half the people don't know why these chapters are in the portion, because most of you are reading it in a cut paste manner. People take out a book, start reading religion, start reading politics, not paying adequate attention to this. Right? They only use the terms superficially. This is one of the biggest problems that all of you face. Right? These chapters make up the foundation of the course. If you don't know these 3 chapters, the rest doesn't make any sense and there is no use in reading. Most of them say these are dull and boring, and they make no sense. Why do they make no sense? Because you are not understanding the entire complete picture of the story of sociology. Right? So people tend to ignore it. Most of the day they do one-day batting. Right? 2 to 3 days before the exam or the optional, they hurry-burriedly go through the notes that is given or provided wherever, whatever they made. They try to by heart it and do superficial reading. And in the exam, when an application question comes from this topic, right, they are shell shocked. They write something and come out, and you are already losing your marks. Right? This is where I think I try to step in and try to make a little sense of this. Right? If I make these chapters interesting, one of the main things is, why do you remember a lot of movies, stories? Right? Because the story is narrated wonderfully well. Even after 10-15 years, you still remember the dialogues, you still remember the scenes. That means they were conceived well and they form an organic whole. That is what people who do self-study or lack guidance do that. They do not know the whole story or the picture. I'll give you an example. Right? Probably most of you will know this. Right? There is nothing, I have not mentioned anything, but just by looking at the scene, this iconic scene, everyone will guess what is the name of this movie. Right? Bahubali. and why did Kattappa kill Bahubali? One of India's biggest questions that tormented India for a year and a half. And of course, it is India's highest grossing motion picture. When they were believing, right, when they were making all of this, never thought that no one, even the director himself, could not conceive why they are making this. And what is the humongous box office impact? Post Bahubali, people spent, right? People thought that spending 300-400 crores in a movie will get this, right? Most of you might have heard of the name. Here I have not even mentioned the name of the movie. If you can just see, only the scene, only the iconic description. Here there are a lot of firsts. There are 50-40 plus actors in this movie, right? It is one of India's biggest stereoscopic films. Lot of this was taken in unknown locations, and around 230 locations were used for shooting of this. But none of this mattered, right? Because the film was confusing and boring. This is what happens in a sociology paper, right? When you use terms without knowing what you are doing. The difference here is screenplay. Before starting Bahubali, the director had a bound script. He stuck to the script and he told an interesting story. That is what you have to do. The organic structure in an answer should come out, right? How do you translate an idea into a story? That is what makes the subject interesting. So this is my total endeavor with this program, the eCLP, right? So that is how we have conceived. Of course, right, the crisis, we used to take offline classes of optional before. Now because of the pandemic that is there, we have shifted online, right? It gives us a bigger canvas and probably help people a lot more. People who are struggling. All they need is a basic internet connection and curiosity to go through, right? What I try to do is, I'll write an interesting screenplay of sociology. Let us try the same portion, right? The first is the beginning. How was sociology born? Then I'll try to establish what are the problems that sociology had to overcome. Right? The establishment of the subject, right? The initial days. Then how did everything come about? The struggle, and finally the application. If you are reading this chapter in this way, and if someone is guiding you in this way, I am very sure that you will not forget this chapter, and there is no need for last moment, what do you call, revisions or by hearting or whatever. Right? I was telling you about the hidden syllabi. Lot of people read this chapter, they read little about enlightenment. Most of you guys who are doing self-study, most of you know that there are a lot of sources on the net. The problem is, they are studying what are the social changes in Europe, what is revolution, what is Renaissance, what is French Revolution and everything. The main thing is, they are forgetting this. If this word is in the syllabi, there are dimensions that will be asked in the UPSC, right? So this is the visible thing. How did sociology emerge? What it did not tell, right? And emergence of sociology is how it has been reformed. Every now and then UPSC broadens its scope and asks the question, why most of you don't read this subject? Because it is not mentioned in the sources that you are studying. Why it is not mentioned in the stories? Because if I make a book that is 800 pages long, no one is going to buy it. So even the publishers and the authors try to copy paste lot of things and make it into 200-300 pages book, right? If you are reading small books, you are going to end up with average marks. This is as simple a concept in any optional, not only sociology. So these parts are missing in the portion. And when it comes in the exam, they say that the paper is a bouncer. The paper is never a bouncer, you make it as a bouncer. You duck even before judging the length of the ball, and it hits you on the helmet. Similarly, if I take some more topic, right, sociology as science, usually there is lot of notes available, 2-3 pages ka notes is there. where people read what are the reasons and limitations. They don't see that this part as science. So you have to study sociology as a social science, and also, right, and also what are the aspects of science. Every now and then a question comes in where the aspects of science is put. People only have 2 pages to refer, they don't know further reading, so they end up not attempting the question or attempting the question very superficially. Right. First of all, why should you join or care to see about all of this? The first thing is you are investing your time, resources and future. Without optional, optional gives you 65% of your marks. Right, 320 out of 500. Right, this is 64% marks. Right, no other subject, GS, even probably essay writing also, you won't have this much. And all of this is guaranteed if you have conceptual clarity. Your optional should be your weapon. It should be your shield rather than your weakling. Most of you, by doing superficial reading, make your optional your Achilles heel. So they don't score. You are investing your time, you are right? Most of you are investing your future. Most of you have resigned your jobs and come here. So make sure whenever you are doing something and choosing your subject, make sure that you are learning it from perfect sources. Ideally, it doesn't take, usually people prepare an optional in 2 months with superficial reading. Right, 2 months, not enough. Not enough even to understand the basic grasp of the option. So what they end up doing, they think that this thing has weightage, that thing has weightage. They do some previous year questions, but UPSC doesn't work that way. It tests your depth of the knowledge, right? And the depth, you have to survive the depth, you need to know swimming. So you need to understand concepts properly, right? Why we have conceived with this e-learning program? The first thing is, like, I myself teach on other 2 e-learning right, platforms. What is, in my observation, some limitations of them is the student is not exposed end-to-end to a mentor. Right? Just like your school, your teacher knows how an XYZ is working, or what are his talents, what are the areas that he needs working on. So unfortunately that is missing, right, because of lack of reach, lack of test series, lack of evaluation. So either you have a test series or you have topics, but there is no mixture of that. The second thing is, most of the programs are not customized. Customized in the sense, there is a classroom, usually an offline classroom, wherein the teacher is predominantly teaching to the people who are in the room, and a person who is remotely watching it neither has the chance to clarify it, his doubts, right? And there is absolutely lack of personal guidance. People who are sitting in the room, they are getting the benefit, but not the person who has subscribed it remotely. So we thought of doing away with all of this and try to make a customized program. Then how do we go about it? That is what we have tried to come up with, right? So we fused all of this into the eCLP. The first thing is, we have customized lessons. Suppose I am teaching a topic of emergence of sociology, you will have an end-to-end grasp of that subject, right? Along with that, we are giving notes. Once the topic is over, we are giving notes, right? The third thing that we are doing is, we are giving you the live doubt clearing sessions. And of course, I will be mentoring all of you. The main thing is, once you start asking questions, whatever little doubts that you have and whatever clarity is not there in the application of that concept, that will be cleared. Finally, this program has a test series. Once all these tests are done, we will be meanwhile giving you tests in between classes also if there is a standalone topic. Most of you guys don't understand that if the class, right, if the topic demands a question, then we will give it. But suppose if I am asking something about politics and caste, until you have total grasp of the politics concept, and the caste concept, you can't fuse both. Hence, that kind of questions will be dealt once the portion is comprehensively covered. So, we will have a total of 30 tests in this, probably 10 class tests, 10 sectional tests and 10 grand tests. That is bound to change depending on the dynamics of the exam. Now, most of you guys are asking me why a flipped class model. As most of you know that this is right, most of people are working in home and there is enormous stress on the bandwidth. So, there is huge network issues for people who are working from home. So, whenever you are attending a live lecture, most of the people get out from the live lecture not because of their own will, but because of these external factors. Similar way for the even for the teacher. So, what we thought, we built this customized e-classroom learning program. We built our own studio and we are doing that. Right? The videos will be very short, probably 45 minutes to 1 hour, because that is the attention span that everyone has nowadays. Right? If you are in an offline atmosphere, that is a different issue. But right now we have 45 minutes to 1 hour customized videos. You can watch it at your will any number of times. Right? And what we have learned in my experience as teacher is, doubts are the most important thing. So, whenever a student has a doubt, he can regularly connect. That is why we have gone in for live doubt clearing sessions, wherein batches of 10 to 15 students will be grouped and comprehensively their doubts will be dealt with. Right? That is one of the main things. Then you have unlimited access to the videos whenever you want. Then we have fused all of this onto our app as well. So, if you have a good enough bandwidth to watch the videos, or of course, you cannot attempt tests from the app, you have to use the desktop for that. Right? So, we have fused this onto our app also, wherein you can register and get your access on the app as well. Now, what is the timeline for the program? Lot of people are asking me. Right? This program is starting from the September 1st. I am going to upload 2 to 3 subtopics per week, depending on the length of the topic. Ideally, because I have to look at how much you can grasp also. So, that is why 3 topics is what I am doing. We will try to cover the entire portion by February 28, 2021. It may take a little longer depending on the dynamic circumstances. Of course, from then to till mains 2021, you will have regular updates of the current affairs. You will have your doubt clearing sessions also live. Along with that, you can attempt your test series, you can do your tests, and you will have your continuous mentorship along with evaluation. You will have continuous student engagement till mains 2021. Right now, UPSC has said it is September. Depending on the circumstances, because we are dealing with a pandemic situation here, that might change. But whenever the mains 2021 is scheduled, rest assured you will have entire support system with you. Right? And finally, we'll come to the main thing that everyone is waiting for. We'll do some sort of thing, because I don't want you guys to waste enough time or doing something. So, how do we mix sociological concepts and current affairs? This is the main question that I kept asking in my questions, in my things, wherever I go. Sir, how do you mix? Ideally, you must be viewing the society through your sociological lens. That means whenever an issue happens, you must be looking at that, at what could be the possible sources? What could be the possible sources? Why this happens? And you need to have a bird's eye view. Why? Right? You take a screenshot or a snapshot and see what is happening. This is called the sociological imagination. Right? Sociological imagination. Suppose there is a small communal disturbance or any fight between 2 communities. Usually the motives attributed are basically local or political. Sociology looks at a wider angle. Are there any internal factors? Are there any external factors? Is there any historical grounds? Is there any political background to this? Right? All this will be in sociology. So, the bigger you get the dimensions, the better your answer is going to be. So, that is what sociological imagination does, that no action happens in isolation. Even if an individual is doing an action in isolation, it will be always tied to the wider circumstances, that is the society. Individual and society are tied together. So I have taken this, right, we will be doing it here only. So the slide is blank. So Black Lives Matters. Most of the people preparing for the exam, even for GS, most of you know why this has happened. Most of you write that George Floyd incident, wherein he was targeted brutally and the video went viral that he was targeted. So you tend to write a answer that is very much right. The problem with people who are preparing for self-studies in sociology, or people who are doing it from sources but are not comprehensive about the concept, you tend to write a very superficial answer which is no more different than an average GS answer. It has happened, lot of people have come about, there is a lot fighting, people are asking for racial inequality, right, racial equality and all this. Usually you keep writing all of this, right. One of the things that you miss is the sociological concept. Every time I get messages saying that, sir, how to incorporate this? Most of you guys might have done this studying in politics and society or social movements. The first thing that you need to ask, right, the first thing that you need to ask yourself is whether this can be called as a social movement or not. So whether this has a social movement characteristics or not. So people who have gone through politics and society, there is a concept of David Arbele where he categorizes social movements. So this movement predominantly is against police action, right? Is against police action. It is against labeling. It is against labeling. Labeling is a concept that is given by Howard Becker. As against labeling of black minority as deviants, right? It was started as that. Deviance is a concept that is given by Robert Merton. So within the first sentence, I have got two of my sociological concepts cleared. Imagine the effect it would have on the examiner. The second thing that I am doing, I am already told you, right? The wider scope of this movement is racial equality. So if I use David Arbele's classification, right, I can use this, right, as a transformative social movement. Transformative social movement, right? It tries to transform the entire structure of race relations. It asks for racial equality. So you can use this concept by David Arbel. So the next thing is, why is this fighting happening? Is there any preconceived notion? Why suddenly? Right? Main thing is, it is against the system of broken window theory. Right? Broken window theory. Broken window theory is a theory that has been popularized by the New York police force. That means even if a small window is left unattended, what happens is it will cause wider chaos. It will cause the destruction of the house. They say that the urban environment by itself, right, because it is very clustered and there is a lot of anonymity, it is an ideal setting space for urban crime. Hence, even a small punishment or a small crime should be given a huge punishment so that it serves as a template for people who are looking for committing larger crimes. So give a punishment, bigger punishment, so that people will get afraid, right? As a using for social control, right? For social control. So if you have this kind of clarity about your concepts, rest assured you are going to do wonderfully well in this exam. I will further add to this. This can be conceived as a new social movement. This can be conceived as a new social movement. Wherein mobilization is through social media. Mobilization is through social media. Similarly, organization as well. Right? You can use the resource mobilization theory for this. Right? Don't worry for people who are yet to do sociology. All these are the concepts that are there in politics and society. These are basically theories of social movements. Right? So this is a new social movement. There is mobilization to social media, organization as well. Why are a lot of people who are non-blacks also joining this movement? Right? You have seen this spread across even sports fraternity, movies, popular media. Everywhere now, this voice of Black Lives Matter is coming. So why so? It is because of the phenomenon of postmodernism. Phenomenon of postmodernism. I feel I am connected to this movement. I have been influenced this movement and I am showing my solidarity. Right? This is not only a solidarity movement, it is not only a solidarity movement, but it is also an advocacy movement. So these are the kinds of points, right? These are the kinds of points that are very much required in your answer, and this completes the entire sociology. Are there any problems in this movement? Of course, every social movement faces problems. What is one of the main problems is this is predominantly treated as a Christian, black Christian population. But of course, there are a lot of people who are from other religions as well, predominantly Islam. So this movement conveniently ignores minorities, their issues have not been raised. And it is only targeting race, but it is not targeting other things, right? Gender, sexual orientation and all this. So intersectionality is missing in this movement. The limitations of this movement is intersectionality is missing. So you have to write, right? It is not addressing gender issues, nor is it addressing the minority issue, right? And it has been predominantly the weakening of this movement. So this is how you conclude a movement. You give both the strong points and also the weak points, right? This is totally out and out sociology answer, and rest assured you are going to get very good marks if this question comes as a current affair. Now I'll go a little further and try to do something in paper 2. Is there a scope for racism in India? Right? Out of a blue question, you keep understanding this in paper 2. Right? Exam में बहुत सारे लोग stun हो जाते हैं, shock हो जाते हैं. Right? People don't know whether there is racism in India or not. Some people who have little knowledge of what we are going to do, they say in India race doesn't exist, but caste exists. And right, being from our degree college background and engineering background, we tend to divert the topic from race and into caste and finish this answer. What you are going to get? No one is going to correct your answer sheet. Rest assured. What happens is you need to understand the phenomena thoroughly, whether there is racism in India or not. So we'll do that. No, right? Predominantly why racism as a concept doesn't exist in India is we are all brown skinned, right? We predominantly belong to only one ethnic background. Apart from people in the northeast, right, who belong to the Mongoloids, right, rest of India are almost similar. Wait 1 second. Right. We also have some superficial mythical divisions like Aryan versus Dravidian identity, right? The North Indian versus South Indian. Right. The Dravidian movement categorized the North Indians as the outsiders, and they are of the Aryan race and Dravidian, right? And of course, we have obsession with looking fair, obsession with fair skin. Right, most of our nicknames are attributed to our physical features. Right. Name calling and labeling. Right. Recently, we have come across this Darren Sammy incident in IPL. He said that people of his team are calling him by his skin color and giving him a nickname. Darren Sammy incident can be mentioned here. Right. Of course, obsession with fair skin, and we have perceived prejudice. That means we have already preformed notions against certain ethnic minorities. So all these features, right, all these features are almost the features of racism. Of course, we don't have institutional racism in India. We don't have systematic racism. That means government is not doing anything to, right, segregate people. So systemic racism or institutional racism is missing. Systemic racism is absent in India. So always race is equated with caste in India. However, the segmental features, the structural divisions of caste and race are different. Hence, right, there is no structural racism in India because of the lack of segmentary character or stratification character. You need to end the answer like this and say, however, cultural characters of racism exist in India. Right, here you can give the example of the fairness cream ads and all this. These are all current affairs that you can substantiate your answer with. This is how you are going to fuse both paper 1 and paper 2, and it's going to become an organic whole. Nothing is in Indian context at all. Right, these things have taken out from paper, the Fair and Lovely ad, Darren Sammy ad. If you are doing this, it is more than sufficient to score extraordinary marks in paper 2. Right, this is how you fuse current affairs with your context. This is how you are going to increase your scope of thinking. Right, that's it. So I want to see you, all of you, in class. Right, this is a small introduction to the eCLP and how we are going to change and make sure that you are going to get the best of both the worlds, and the objective is to get you both conceptual clarity and the process right, and the end result will take care of itself, right? Please be safe and keep hustling. From all of us at IS Baba. Thank you. Let's see you.